My name is Olivia Johnson, and at 28 years old, my father refused to walk me down the aisle because of my sister's lies. But what happened at the reception left him speechless with regret. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. My wedding day nearly disintegrated, ripped apart by an unexpected treachery, not from a stranger, but from my own flesh and blood, my father and sister. He actually preferred her petty party over accompanying me down the aisle. The instant he understood what he had done still sends shivers down my spine. I'm Cornelia. I was 28 years old when all of this occurred. Growing up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, our family appeared picture perfect. A nice home, mom's tulips, and dad teaching me how to ride my bike. My father, Adam, was my absolute hero. He was tall, with salt and pepper hair, and he had a dominating presence while smiling gently. He'd sit with me at breakfast every morning, his eyes crinkling, and tell me, "Cornelia, you have the brightest mind I've ever seen. You are going to change the world someday." Those words motivated me. When I got straight A's, he'd reward me with ice cream. My mother, Amber, served as the family study anchor. Her kind brown eyes and compassionate nature counteracted Dad's occasional strictness. She worked part-time as a nurse and always put us first. She would spend hours assisting me with homework or showing me how to make her renowned chocolate chip cookies. When I was 13, everything shattered. Mom began feeling weary, and after 3 months we received the dreadful diagnosis, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The following 7 months were a flurry of hospital trips, hushed chats, and watching my lively mother fade away. Her death created a cavernous wound that we never properly addressed. My oldest sister, Katerina, was always complicated. Even before Mom died, she seemed to hate my strong relationship with Dad. She was tall and athletic. I was small and scholarly. Mom attempted to highlight our various skills, but Katerina took every compliment I received as a personal affront. After Mom left, the tension between us erupted. Dad immersed himself in his work, frequently remaining at the office until 9 or 10. I considered escaping the emptiness of our home. His absence left a void, which 15-year-old Katerina quickly filled, declaring herself the new mistress of the house. "Dad's dealing with enough," she'd chastise me if I questioned when he'd be home. "He has important clients. We must be strong for him." I watched her shift into someone I hardly recognized. She began cooking, not like Mom, of course, and taking charge. Dad appeared grateful, and their bond became stronger, while mine with him frayed. His business success only made matters worse. He was elevated to senior partner, which resulted in more money but less time. Katerina expertly manipulated this, using guilt trips and emotional tactics to cement her position as his favorite. "Cornelia just spent $75 on art supplies," she'd tell him, neatly omitting that it was for an unfinished school assignment. Or, "Cornelia said she doesn't need you at her band concert because she knows how busy you are," while I had been counting down the days, yearning for him to come. By high school, Katerina had created a completely fictitious story about me for Dad. I was defiant, ungrateful, and only cared about my pals. The fact was that I had retreated into my art studies, trying to cope with the loss of both my mother and increasingly my father. The ultimate betrayal occurred during my junior year. I was nominated for a coveted art scholarship. I'd been reminding Dad for weeks. The night before, I overheard Katerina talking on the phone with him. "Cornelia told me she doesn't want to make a big deal about tomorrow. She said having you there might make her nervous. Maybe just send a card." The next day, I sat alone at the event, watching other students and their joyful parents as I received my medal. Dad texted, "Congrats. Have an important client dinner." I subsequently learned from his secretary that Katerina had called his office and claimed I had rescheduled the ceremony, forcing him to book another obligation. When I approached her, she simply shrugged. "You always want all the attention. It's pathetic." At 18, I couldn't wait to leave. I applied to universities on the other side of the state, anxious to get away from that toxic household. The University of Pittsburgh awarded me a scholarship, and I immersed myself in university life, only returning home for important holidays, where I had to put up with Katerina's subtle insults and Dad's distant politeness. I met Marco during my sophomore year. He was tall, compassionate, had a fast smile, and possessed a logical, engineering mind that perfectly balanced my creative turmoil. Our coffee meeting for notes morphed into a 3-hour chat, and within a month, we were inseparable. Marco came from a joyful, raucous family who welcomed me right away. His mother, Isabella, a kindergarten teacher, made everybody feel special. His father, William, a civil engineer, had a dry sense of humor. His younger brother, Lucas, they greeted me as if I had always belonged. Marco was my pillar of strength throughout college and our early careers. He understood my family concerns without passing judgment, comforted me when holidays made me cry, and celebrated my accomplishments when my own father failed to recognize them. We relocated to Philadelphia, established our careers, and constructed a life outside the shadow of my family drama. My monthly chats with Dad were brief and perfunctory. Katerina, now in real estate, continued to reside in our hometown, always placing herself as the faithful daughter, reminding me that she was looking after Dad. By the age of 26, I was a marketing executive. Marco was prospering, and our life together was more satisfying than I could have anticipated. The old wounds remained, but I was establishing a new life, a new family in which I was appreciated and cherished. Marco proposed during our 5th anniversary. He had arranged a day similar to our first date, culminating with dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant. A tiny velvet box appeared along with the dessert. "Cornelia," he said, taking my hands, "you've made these past 5 years the best of my life. Your creativity, kindness, and strength amaze me. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" The ring was perfect, a vintage sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds, unique like my artistic spirit. In the excitement of the moment, I ignored the worry of telling my family. For one beautiful evening, I simply wanted to be happy. The following morning, I called Dad. "Dad, Marco proposed last night, and I said yes." The wait was a bit too lengthy. "Well, congratulations," he finally murmured, his tone flat, as if he were discussing a minor professional accomplishment. "He seems like a good guy. Have you set a date?" No excitement, no questions about the proposal, no invitation to celebrate, simply practical inquiries. "Not yet," I said, concealing my aching despair. "Maybe next summer." "Let me know when you decide," he said. "I should check my calendar." I hung up and tried to hold back tears. Marco discovered me and immediately understood. "He'll come around," he promised me, though I could tell he didn't really believe it. Katerina reacted much worse. I texted her the news along with a ring photo, and her response was so effusively congratulatory that it was obvious she was lying. "OMG, congrats, little sis. So happy for you. That ring is so pretty." The exclamation points couldn't conceal the raging jealousy beneath. Katerina, 32, had been in a series of short-lived relationships, never finding someone willing to commit. Despite their lackluster responses, we persisted. We settled on June 15th, 9 months away. The date worked for Marco's family, my friends, and most significantly, my father, who confirmed his availability. We sent out save the dates. Dad sounded fairly enthusiastic. "I'll put it on my calendar," he stated. Katerina also mentioned it. "Actually, Dad," I admitted cautiously, "I was hoping you'd walk me down the aisle." Another pause, this time with true feeling. "I would be honored, Cornelia." That brief moment of connection filled me with optimism. The following months were spent in a frenzy of planning, venue tours, caterers, and clothing fittings. Marco's mother, Isabella, accompanied me to numerous appointments, offering recommendations, never overbearing, and always enthusiastic. "You are going to be the most beautiful bride," she assured me at my first dress fitting, tears in her eyes as I walked out in a fitted lace gown. I was strongly aware of my own mother's absence at that moment. Isabella recognized that and gently squeezed my palm. "Your mom would be so proud of the woman you've become." I also became close to Marco's uncle, Anton, Isabella's brother-in-law. Anton was in his early 60s, a retired English professor with silver hair and warm eyes. He never married or had children, but he cared deeply about Marco and Lucas. At family gatherings, Anton would always talk to me about books, art, and my work. He was not just politely interested, he actually listened. "You have a remarkable eye for what moves people," he commented after I showed him a campaign I had created. "That's a rare gift." His genuine joy was in sharp contrast to my own family. Dad confirmed his appearance, but never inquired about the intentions. Katerina declined to be a bridesmaid, citing job responsibilities, but stated that she would attend. Then, 5 months before the wedding, I saw some alarming symptoms. Katerina began posting vague social media updates about a large event she was arranging. I called, but she was evasive. Just something for work, nothing for you to worry about. But as our date approached, more posts appeared, venue scouting, catering choices, and mentions of June as a possible month. I attempted to push down the knot of fear that had developed in my stomach. The shocking news came 3 months and 1 day before our wedding. Katerina called, her voice full of fake kindness. Cornelia, I wanted to let you know personally before you see it on social media. I'm hosting a career achievement party on June 15th. I finally hit my sales target to become a broker, and the firm is throwing me a huge celebration. My blood turned cold. Katerina, that's my wedding day. You received the save the date 8 months ago. Did I? She pretended amazement. It must have slipped my mind when I was planning with the firm. Anyway, it's just a coincidence. My event is earlier, starting at 11 a.m. at the country club. It should be winding down around the time your ceremony starts at 4 p.m., so it works out perfectly. Perfectly? I said, my voice rising. You're scheduling a party on my wedding day, knowing Dad will have to choose. Dad can attend both, she responded calmly. He's so proud of my achievement, but I'm sure he'll make it to your wedding too. It's not that far a drive. The country club was over 2 hours away from our site, making it physically impossible for anyone attending her function to make it to our ceremony, especially the bride's father, who needed to arrive early. I hung up and immediately called Dad, hoping he could see through Katerina. Dad, did you know Katerina scheduled her work party on my wedding day? Yes, she mentioned it, he answered casually. It's unfortunate timing, but these work events can be hard to reschedule. It's a big achievement for her. But Dad, how will you attend both? You're supposed to walk me down the aisle. I'll make it work, Cornelia. I'll go to the first part of Katerina's event and then drive over for your ceremony. There's no need to make this a bigger issue than it is. But as the weeks passed, I could feel him wavering. He began mentioning the traffic, asking if we could move the ceremony back an hour, and questioning if I really wanted him for pre-wedding photos. Despite the mounting strain, we persisted with our plans: final fittings, photographer appointments, flowers, and welcome packages. Marco and his family remained supportive, but I could tell they were growing anxious about my father's devotion. Then, 2 weeks before the wedding, I received a call that confirmed my worst fears. It was Tuesday evening. My phone rang as I was reviewing seating charts. Cornelia, Dad said, his voice uneasy. I need to talk to you about the wedding. I've been thinking about the logistics for June 15th, and I don't think I can make it to the ceremony on time. Katerina's event is really important to her career, and as her father, I need to be there for the whole thing. The timing just doesn't work out. I grasped the phone, trying to keep my voice steady. You're choosing not to walk me down the aisle at my wedding. It's not about choosing, he responded defiantly. It's about practical timing. Katerina's event is earlier, and I can't be in 2 places at once. Maybe you could ask Marco's father to walk you down the aisle, or your friend's dad. I'm sure someone else can do it. Someone else? As if leading your daughter down the aisle was an interchangeable chore that could be handed to a stranger. I see, I said, my voice barely audible. I'll still come to the reception, he said, as if this were a generous compromise. I should be able to make it by 7 or so, depending on traffic. After murmuring farewell, I dropped the phone and slumped to the floor in sobs. Marco found me about 20 minutes later. He's not coming, I wept on his shoulder. He's choosing Katerina's party over walking me down the aisle. Marco gripped me tightly, his fury visible in his rigid shoulders. I'm so sorry, Cornelia. He doesn't deserve you. Marco politely suggested that we postpone. We could move it. Give your dad no excuse. The thought had crossed my head, but something within me revolted. No, I replied firmly. I am not rearranging our wedding because of Katerina's manipulations. That's exactly what she wants. The next day, Isabella called to confirm information and could tell something was awry. I spewed out the entire story. Oh, sweetheart, she replied, her voice full of maternal concern. I cannot believe your father would do this to you. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Part of me wants to beg him, but I know that's what Katerina expects. She wants me to seem desperate. Listen to me, Isabella stated forcefully. This is your day, yours and Marco's. Don't let anyone diminish it. Your father is making a choice he will regret for the rest of his life, but that is his burden to bear, not yours. Her comments strengthened me, but the question remained, who would escort me down the aisle? The idea of walking alone felt like a public confession of my father's rejection. Later that week, Uncle Anton called. Marco told me what happened, he said gently. I hope you don't mind him sharing. Of course not, I responded, touched. I know this is a difficult time, Anton said. Family disappointments cut the deepest. His tone implied that he was directly familiar with this anguish. It sounds like you understand more than you might expect, he stated. My own father studied literature instead of business. Some wounds never fully heal, but we learn to build beautiful lives despite them. His knowledge prompted new tears. Thank you for understanding, Anton. Any time, dear. And remember, family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up for you when it matters. 1 week before the wedding, I reached rock bottom. Despite enthusiastic emails from friends and final vendor confirmations, I found myself on the bathroom floor at midnight, overcome with despair. My father's absence left a gaping hole in the wedding, which was otherwise going brilliantly. The next morning, Marco recommended I meet Isabella for lunch. She was waiting in a quiet cafe. Marco is worried about you, she added, squeezing my hand. We all are. I'm trying to be strong, I explained, stirring my tea. I keep telling myself it doesn't matter that I'm better off without Dad there. But then I think about walking into the ceremony alone, and I just feel abandoned. It's okay to feel that way, Cornelia. What your father is doing is wrong, and you have every right to be hurt. Isabella appeared to be gathering her thoughts while we ate our salads. There's something I think you should know, she finally said. Something about Anton that might help you understand why he called you. What about him? I inquired, raising my gaze. Anton is actually my late husband's brother, she explained. When I met William, Anton was already estranged from their parents. Their father was a very rigid, traditional man who never forgave Anton for choosing academia over the family construction business. I nodded, recalling Anton's words. What you might not know is that I was married once before William, Isabella added. A brief, unfortunate union when I was very young. When I decided to marry William, my father refused to attend because he thought it was shameful for me to have a second wedding. He said it would embarrass him. That's terrible, I mumbled. It was Anton who offered to walk me down the aisle, she replied, smiling slightly. He understood what it was like to be rejected by a parent. He told me, Isabella, you deserve to be given away by someone who celebrates your happiness, not someone who judges it. Her narrative had a strong emotional impact. I had no idea. Anton never had children of his own, Isabella explained, but he's been the most wonderful uncle to Marco and Lucas. He attends every school play, graduation, every important moment. She was too polite to say it outright, but the thought began to shape in my head. Do you think, I said with hesitation, would it be inappropriate to ask Anton if he would walk me down the aisle? Isabella's eyes flooded with tears. Oh, sweetheart, I think it would mean the world to him, but this has to be your decision. I spent the next day thinking about it. Anton had always expressed real interest in my life and been nothing but kind. There was something poignant about being escorted down the aisle by someone who understood parental rejection. That evening, I phoned Anton. We met in a bookstore cafe. When I arrived, he was already there with a stack of books and 2 coffees ready. I took the liberty of ordering your usual, he replied with a friendly smile. Vanilla latte with an extra shot. Right. The fact that he recalled such a minor thing simply reinforced his personality. After some small chat, I found my courage. Anton, there's something I wanted to ask you. He placed down his coffee and gave me his entire attention. Anything, Cornelia. I don't know if Marco told you, but my father has decided not to walk me down the aisle. The words were still painful to speak. Anton nodded solemnly. Marco mentioned there was some conflict. I am truly sorry. I took a deep breath. Isabella told me how you walked her down the aisle at her wedding to William and how meaningful that was to her. I was wondering, I would be honored if you would consider doing the same for me. Anton's expression changed from surprise to intense emotion. He was speechless for a moment, his eyes watering. Cornelia, he finally responded, his voice heavy, I cannot tell you what this means to me. Are you certain? This should be a special moment with someone you are close to. I am absolutely certain, I responded, growing more certain by the second. You have shown me more genuine interest and support in the years I've known you than my father has in a decade. I would be proud to have you walk me down the aisle. Anton moved across the table to take my hand. Then I accept with all my heart. It would be one of the greatest honors of my life. The weight that had been crushing me for weeks now seemed lighter. Anton was correct. Family was defined by who showed up, not just shared DNA. The final days before the wedding were a blur. Throughout it all, I felt a renewed sense of tranquility. I made one more attempt to contact my father, calling him 3 days prior. Dad, I just wanted to confirm whether you're still planning to come to the reception. Yes, I should be able to make it after Katerina's event, he said, appearing distracted. Probably around 7:30 or 8. I swallowed hard. I also wanted you to know that I've asked Marco's uncle, Anton, to walk me down the aisle. A pause. Who? Anton Harris, Marco's uncle. He's been very supportive. I see. His tone was unintelligible. Well, I suppose someone has to do it if I can't be there on time. His contemptuous attitude simply proved that I had made the right decision. Anton presented a toast the night before at our rehearsal dinner that moved many people to tears. To Cornelia and Marco, he added, raising his glass. True love is not just about finding the right person, but also about creating a family of choice that supports and celebrates you. I am deeply honored to play a small role in your special day. Later, when the visitors left, I checked social media one final time. Katerina's posts on her career celebration featured minimal decorations in her flat with roughly a dozen individuals tagged. It was obviously not the large corporate function she had described. She had booked a normal house party expressly to conflict with my wedding. The knowledge should have hurt, but instead I had a peculiar sense of clarity. The scales had now slipped from my eyes regarding the genuine nature of my sister's emotions. Her jealousy was so intense that she sabotaged one of the most important days of my life out of vengeance. I closed the app, determined not to let her cruelty affect me. Tomorrow's focus would be on love rather than family drama. I awoke on my wedding day to sunshine. My bridesmaids came, their enthusiasm infectious. As my friend Alina's hair was being styled, my phone rang with a text from Dad. Good luck today. Katerina's event starts at 11 o'clock. If it wraps up early, I might be able to make it to the reception by 7 or 8. Save me some cake. Not a single word of sorrow for missing the event. Not even congrats or I love you. Just a reminder that Katerina's party came first. I passed the phone to my bridesmaid Cassandra, unable to answer. He's unbelievable, she mumbled, hugging me in support. Try not to let it ruin your day. Anton knocked at midday, dressed elegantly in a tuxedo and clutching a small gift package. I hope I'm not intruding, he explained. I just wanted to drop this off for Cornelia. I invited him inside. You look absolutely radiant, he murmured, his eyes crinkling with real affection. Marco is a very fortunate young man. Thank you for coming by, I said, and for everything else. Anton handed me the box. I wanted you to have this today. It belonged to my mother, and I've been saving it for a special occasion. Inside was a gorgeous vintage handkerchief trimmed with lace and small blue flowers. Something old, something blue, Anton explained. My mother carried it on her wedding day in 1930. I thought perhaps you might like to have it with you today. Tears welled in my eyes. It's beautiful, Anton. I would be honored. There's one more thing, he explained, bringing out a little velvet pouch. Isabella asked me to give you this. It was meant to be a surprise. Inside was a beautiful silver bracelet with a single charm, a paintbrush, and a pen. She remembered you telling her how you loved both writing and painting as a child. Anton said she wanted you to have a reminder of your creative spirit. The thoughtfulness overwhelmed me. These folks, who had no blood relationship with me, were more concerned about my happiness than my own family. Please thank her for me, I said, securing the bracelet. This means so much. Anton nodded with understanding. I should let you continue getting ready. I'll see you before the ceremony. As the afternoon continued, I concentrated on the bliss. My bridesmaids helped me put on my dress. With my hair up, Mom's pearl earrings, Isabella's bracelet, and Anton's handkerchief tucked into my bouquet, I felt prepared. At 3:30 p.m., the photographer was finished. Isabella arrived. Oh, Cornelia, she sighed, tears in her eyes. You are absolutely stunning. She hugged me gently. Anton is waiting in the lobby whenever you're ready. 10 minutes before 4, I headed to the garden terrace. Through the glass doors, I could see 90 people, the flowery arch where Marco was waiting, and the string quartet. Anton stood in the anteroom, slightly worried, but composed. When he saw me, his face was full of pride. Are you ready? He inquired gently. I nodded, too moved to talk. He offered his arm. The doors opened as the opening notes of Canon in D began to sound. Walking down the aisle with Anton, I felt a strange combination of emotions. Regret for my father's decision to miss this moment, but also thankfulness for the man who had stepped in with such grace and love. Marco's expression as he saw me approach was worth every minute of planning. Family strife and tears were behind me. His eyes radiated love and wonder. And in that moment, I realized we were starting our own family, one based on mutual respect and true caring. The ceremony was just what I had dreamed of. We exchanged our vows, agreeing to support each other's goals, speak openly, and pick each other every day. When the officiant called us husband and wife, the applause enveloped us like a hug. The cocktail hour and supper were full of laughter, toasts, and dancing. Marco's father offered an emotional message. Anton's toast caused happy tears. By 8:30, it was evident that my father would not make it to the reception. I tried not to let that cloud my emotions as Marco and I performed our first dance. As the evening continued, I spotted my cousin Timothy enter, appearing flustered. He was Mom's nephew and was always kind. He was also one of the few family members who had maintained contact with both Katerina and me. After greeting him, I mentioned his late arrival. "I'm so sorry," he stated with genuine regret. "I stopped by Katerina's event first, thinking I could make both." "But Cornelia, there's something you should know," he added, leading me to a quiet spot, his countenance solemn. "That party Katerina had today, it wasn't what she told everyone. It wasn't a work event at all." My stomach constricted. "What do you mean?" "It was just a regular gathering at her apartment, maybe 15 people total, mostly her friends from the gym and a couple of coworkers. There was no company recognition, no achievement celebration. I asked her colleague Miriam about the broker promotion, and she looked completely confused. The consequences were astounding. So she lied about the whole thing, just to create a conflict with my wedding." Timothy nodded grimly. "That's not all. I overheard her talking to your dad. She's been telling him for months that you didn't really want him at the wedding, that you only asked him to walk you down the aisle out of obligation." "What? That's completely false." "I know, and there's more." Timothy took out his phone and showed me a text discussion between him and Katerina from months ago. Katerina frankly acknowledged that she had purposefully scheduled her party on my wedding day. She wanted to make Dad pick. The revelation was both stunning and somehow validating. All these years, I assumed I was being paranoid about Katerina's manipulations. This was confirmation that she had been aggressively destroying my relationship with our father. "Does Dad know any of this?" I inquired. Timothy shook his head. "I don't think so. I tried to tell him today, but Katerina kept interrupting and eventually pulled him away. I'm so sorry, Cornelia. I should have realized what was happening sooner." I hugged my cousin and thanked him for being honest. "Thank you for telling me, Timothy. At least now I know the truth." I tried to assimilate the new knowledge. Half of me wanted to contact my father right away and expose Katerina, but another half realized it was my wedding day, and I deserved to enjoy it. I joined Marco on this dance floor, pushing off thoughts of my sister and father. This day was about love and the future, not the tragic past. The reception was winding down around 10:30 with just around 40 attendees remaining when I spotted a ruckus near the door. My heart skipped a beat. My father's tall figure entered the ballroom, looking uncomfortable in a hastily put-together suit. Marco noticed him and grasped my hand. "Do you want me to run interference? Yeah?" I shook my head. "No, I need to handle this." My father approached uncomfortably, carrying a little present bag. "Congratulations," he replied stiffly, moving in for a similarly stiff hug. "Sorry I'm late. Katerina's thing ran longer than expected." The cavalier manner he mentioned missing my entire wedding ceremony made my blood boil, but I remained calm. "I'm glad you could make it for the last hour of the reception," I said. If he perceived sarcasm, he did not recognize it. He looked around the room. "It looks like it was a nice wedding," he said, as if referring to a movie he had missed. "It was beautiful," I said. "Perfect, actually." An awkward stillness fell. Then he threw the present bag toward me. "This is from Katerina and me, a set of crystal wine glasses." "Thank you," I replied, placing it aside. "Would you like a drink?" He nodded as we proceeded to the bar. As the bartender prepared his scotch, my father finally addressed the question I was waiting for. "So who ended up walking you down the aisle?" "Anton Harris," I responded, "Marco's uncle." My father frowned. "The older gentleman in the navy tuxedo, the one who gave that toast earlier." I nodded, noticing Anton speaking with Isabella and William. "Yes, that's him." "You had a stranger walk you down the aisle?" His tone was astonished, as if I'd made an idiotic decision. "He is not a stranger to me," I stated firmly. "He has been part of Marco's family for years, and he has shown more interest in my life and happiness than you have in a very long time." My father's cheeks reddened with rage. "That's not fair, Cornelia. I have always supported you." "Have you?" I asked, years of sorrow finally coming to the surface. "You missed my art scholarship ceremony because Katerina told you I didn't want you there. You forgot my college graduation dinner until Marco's parents reminded you, and now you skip my wedding ceremony for Katerina's fake party." "Fake party? What are you talking about?" At that point, Timothy approached. "Dad, I'm glad you made it, even if it is just for the end of the reception." My father nodded curtly. "Timothy, what is this Cornelia is saying about Katerina's party being fake?" Timothy stared between us, recognizing he had walked into a heated exchange. "I was just telling Cornelia earlier, the party today wasn't a work event. It was just a regular get-together at Katerina's apartment. There was no promotion, no company event. It was just a party Katerina planned on the same day as Cornelia's wedding. My father's countenance changed from disbelief to perplexity. Before he could react, Anton approached. Cornelia, Marco is looking for you. I believe it's almost time for the sparkler send-off. My father looked at Anton with hardly hidden contempt. You must be the uncle who walked my daughter down the aisle. Anton offered his hand pleasantly. Anton Harris, you must be Adam. It's good to finally meet you. My father snubbed the outstretched hand. I don't understand why my daughter needed to have a stranger take my place at her wedding. Dad, stop it, I hissed, mortified. Anton stayed composed. I can understand your confusion. It was an honor to support Cornelia on her special day, especially knowing how important the ceremony was to her. My father scoffed. Important to her? If it was so important, she could have scheduled it on a day that didn't conflict with her sister's event. My wedding was scheduled 9 months ago, I explained. Katerina deliberately planned her party for the same day, and Timothy has proof of it. Timothy reluctantly showed my father the text. My father read them, his face becoming paler. This cannot be right, he murmured. Katerina wouldn't do this. She's been doing it for years, Dad, I explained, my voice breaking. She's been deliberately driving a wedge between us since Mom died. She lied to you about me not wanting you at my art ceremony, about me not caring if you came to my graduation dinner, and now about me not really wanting you to walk me down the aisle. My father appeared shocked. She told me, you said having me walk you down the aisle would be embarrassing because we aren't close anymore. She said, you only asked out of obligation. That is absolutely not true, I insisted. I wanted you there. I have always wanted you in my life. My father appeared to have a sudden realization. Years of deception finally became apparent. His look changed from confusion to rage. I need to speak with Katerina, he replied abruptly, taking out his phone. Not now, I urged. This is my wedding reception. But he was already dialing and moving away. Anton gently placed his hand on my shoulder. I'm so sorry about this, Cornelia. Should I get Marco? I nodded graciously. Anton reappeared moments later, along with my new husband. Marco assessed the situation immediately and wrapped a protective arm over me. What happened? Before I could explain, my father returned, his face flushed with rage. Katerina hung up on me. I'm going to her apartment right now to get the truth. Dad, please, I pleaded. Can this wait until tomorrow? This is supposed to be a celebration. I need to know if what you are saying is true, he stressed. If Katerina has been lying to me all these years. She has, Timothy replied gently. I'm sorry, Uncle Adam, but it's true. My father stared at me, then at Anton, who was standing alongside Marco and me. Something about seeing us together seemed to incite a new rush of rage in him. So, you replace me with him? He shouted, pointing to Anton. Some random old man you barely know. Anton moved forward, his voice quiet yet forceful. Mr. Evans, I understand you're upset, but this is neither the time nor place for this conversation. Today is about Cornelia and Marco's marriage, not about past grievances. Don't tell me what this day is about, my father demanded. She is my daughter. Then perhaps you should have acted like her father, Anton said calmly. Being a father means showing up not just when it's convenient, but when it matters most. The basic reality of Anton's comments struck my father like a physical blow. He peered at Anton, then at me, his rage fading into something resembling shame. I need to go, he remarked abruptly. I need to talk to Katerina. He turned and walked away without saying anything further, creating an awkward stillness. Marco drew me closer. Are you okay? I nodded, even though tears threatened. I just wish he could have seen the truth sooner. Anton's constant presence beside us was soothing. Family revelations are never easy, Cornelia, but sometimes they are necessary for healing to begin. Isabella and William joined us. Don't let this overshadow your beautiful day, Isabella murmured, holding me. You and Marco deserve all the happiness in the world. We rejoined the remaining guests for the sparkler send-off, forming a magnificent tunnel of light. Despite the incident, as Marco and I rushed to our waiting car, I felt a strange sense of calm. The truth was ultimately revealed. Whatever occurred next, I had a new family who genuinely respected me. Marco and I spent 2 wonderful weeks honeymooning in Greece. The distance enabled me to process everything. I switched off Dad and Katerina's notifications, determined to enjoy our special time together. But when we got back, reality was waiting in my voicemail and email inbox. My father sent 5 messages, each one more regretful. The third one, left 3 days before we returned, was especially raw. Cornelia, I don't know if you're listening to these, but you were right about Katerina. After the wedding, I confronted her with those text messages Timothy showed me. At first, she denied everything, but when I pressed her, she finally admitted the truth. She's been manipulating both of us for years. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I hope someday you'll give me a chance to make this right. I am so sorry I missed. Katerina left no messages, only a frigid email explaining that she was taking a break from family issues and would be traveling forever. I sat on our couch and stared at my phone. Marco sat alongside me and held my hand. "What are you thinking?" he finally inquired. "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me feels vindicated that Dad finally sees the truth, but another part is just sad for all the years we lost. "Do you want to call him back?" he inquired. I considered it. Not yet. I need some time to figure out what I want this relationship to look like going forward, if I even want one at all. The next few weeks were filled with thank you messages, returning to work, and adjusting to married life. I remained in regular contact with Marco's family, particularly Anton, who called every Sunday evening. "How are you doing, Cornelia?" he'd inquire, his voice filled with genuine concern. We'd speak about books, work, and deeper issues like family and forgiveness. Anton never pressed me to reconnect with my father, but his own experiences provided significant insight. "Forgiveness is not about excusing the behavior," he informed me during a phone chat. "It is about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. Whatever you decide, make sure it brings you peace." A month after we returned, I finally contacted my father. We met in a neutral cafe. He was already there, looking older and worn. He stood awkwardly. "Cornelia, thank you for coming," he murmured in a husky voice. We sat down and ordered coffee. "I don't even know where to begin," he added as our beverages arrived. "I've failed you so completely." "Yes, you did," I said without sugarcoating it. "But I want to understand how it happened. How did you not see what Katerina was doing all these years?" He breathed deeply. "After your mother died, I was lost. Katerina stepped up, and I was grateful. It was easier to believe her version of events than to face my own grief and inadequacy as a single parent. She became my connection to you, filtering everything. By the time you left for college, I believed her narrative that you were pulling away. I never wanted to pull away from you. I told you I just couldn't handle Katerina's constant manipulation. It was easier to distance myself. I understand that now." He said when I confronted her, "She finally admitted everything. She's been jealous of our relationship since you were a child. She felt I always favored you. And after your mother died, she saw an opportunity to have me all to herself. Have you spoken to her since?" He shakes his head. "She left for Florida the day after I confronted her. She's staying with a friend in Miami and refuses to discuss what happened. I don't know when or if she will come back." We talked for nearly 3 hours, discussing sad memories and misunderstandings. Tears flowed, recriminations were exchanged, and understanding began to emerge. "I want to try to rebuild our relationship," my father explained as we prepared to leave. "I know I don't deserve another chance, but if you're willing, I'd like to get to know the amazing woman you've become." "I need to think about it," I admitted honestly. "This isn't something we can fix in one conversation." He nodded and accepted my boundary. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready." Over the next few months, we began a painstaking reconciliation. Weekly phone calls became routine visits. I properly introduced him to Marco's family, especially Anton, who welcomed my father with great grace despite their difficult first meeting. 3 months after our first reunion, my father proposed a family supper at his house for Marco's parents and Anton. It was a preliminary step toward combining our families. While there were awkward moments, everyone made a real attempt. After supper, I discovered my father and Anton in the living room, deep in conversation. "I want to thank you for being there for Cornelia, even when I wasn't," my father said. "Walking her down the aisle should have been my privilege, but you did it with honor." Anton nodded attentively. "She is a remarkable young woman. You should be very proud of who she has become, largely through her own strength and determination." "I am," my father confirmed. "I just wish I had been more present to see it happening." Their discourse gave me hope that the scars of the past may be healed with time and effort. Katerina stayed distant, sending bland texts or holiday cards, but avoiding actual conversation. I came to realize that certain relationships may never be mended, and that was fine. 6 months after the wedding, we celebrated our first Thanksgiving as a married couple. Our dining table was full of Marco's family, my father, cousin Timothy, and a few close friends. Katerina was invited but rejected. My father's voice broke with emotion as we went around the table giving our thanks. "I am thankful for second chances," he added simply, "and for a daughter whose capacity for forgiveness humbles me every day." When it was Anton's turn, he grinned brightly across the table. "I am thankful for the reminder that family is created through love and choice, not just biology, and I am especially thankful to have gained another niece in Cornelia whose courage and grace inspire me." On our 1-year anniversary, Marco and I hosted a modest dinner party. Anton surprised us with a toast that brought me to tears. 1 year ago, I had the privilege of walking this beautiful young woman down the aisle to marry the man she loves. What began as an honor became one of the greatest gifts of my life, the opportunity to be part of Cornelia and Marco's journey. May your marriage continue to grow in strength and joy. And may you always remember that true family consists of those who choose to love you, even when it's difficult. As I reflect on the path that led us here, I realize that even life's most serious wounds can lead to unexpected healing. My father's absence on my wedding day resulted in Anton's presence, which served as a bridge for my father's ultimate comeback into my life. My family now encompasses both those I was born into and those I choose, all faulty, but each valuable in their own way. I've realized that forgiveness does not imply forgetting or excusing destructive behavior. It entails releasing yourself from the weight of anger and setting boundaries that safeguard your heart while allowing for development and progress. The parent who takes you down the aisle should be someone who has stood by your side through life's hardships, supporting and loving you wholeheartedly. Occasionally, that individual shares your DNA, and occasionally they enter your life through other means. What matters most is not who stands by you on a single significant day, but who shows up on all of the subsequent mundane days. I am grateful to have found my tribe, people who choose me every day just as I choose them. Remember that sometimes the most beautiful families are those we build through love and choice, rather than the ones we are born.